Cool. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Black.Queer.Alive. We are in season 3, and I am here with Robin. How do you say your last name, Robin?
It's pronounced Gaudreau.
Gaudreau. Okay. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
want to. I didn't want to botch it, but sometimes it's like people say, like, I think it's Gaudreau. People are like, it's Gaudreau, and I'm like, okay.
Oof.
Pronounce people and names. Um,
I'm not picky.
Yay. Before we start though, I do want to get your pronouns right. Is it he, him, they, them, or do you blend it? Um,
It's just they, them.
okay.
But if you really want to get me in a good mood, you can call me it, but that's for special people only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go there. Why not?
Okay, fuck it. We're here. We're here now. Let's jump into a few of the questions. What is your age? And you know what? It says occupation, but like, what are you passionate about? What motivates you?
Ooh, okay, so I'm 27,
Okay.
and until very recently, I was a mathematician,
Mhm.
and I am now a full-time drag performer, which is just a fun way of saying that I'm unemployed.
Ah! Okay. Okay. We laugh, but also, wow. It's like happy, it's funny and sad at the same time. But you know what? Fuck it. And I think that's what really attracted me to your story because you're like, I was a mathematician for 10 years. And I'm like, that's a level of smart that I will never have in my life. Like, numbers over my head. So, how did you make that transition from mathematician to full time drag performer?
Well, the first thing that I have to admit is that if I was really smart, I would have gone into engineering.
Hmm.
Um, so I was just smart enough to get away with doing math, but not smart enough to study something that would get me a job one day. And what really happened is that uh, I do my undergrad, then I go to grad school, and then I'm stuck in this situation where I work for the university and I also pay the university to study there. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very clever system. And I I'm teaching these undergraduate students the things that I had learned before. Hopefully, I'd learned before on paper. I'd learned before in real life, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We all forget everything after 2 years. So you're just learning over and over again the same undergraduate material. Um, and I'm at this institution where the math department is in a building that has, and this is very important to the story, so I need to explain this to you.
Please. Mm-hmm.
It's it's 8 floors, and there's a very big skylight. And for the skylight to be efficient on all 8 floors, they all have there's a big hole in the middle of the building so that the roof
So
to
like,
the first floor is just a direct open space, large open space, and there's these little kind of bridges on each floor. And what would happen at least once a year for the time that I was a student there is that someone would jump from the bridge on the 8th floor
commit suicide.
into the lobby. Yes, commit suicide
Okay.
in this building where the math department was. And those would usually be undergraduate students, and that would usually happen during finals time, because they were just under so much stress
Uh-huh.
that they would come to this impasse where it felt like the solution was, oh, I will just kill myself and I won't have to deal with that final. And I
How
can understand that because I had those thoughts every single final.
Mhm. How
And
many years did that happen for?
I stayed there 3 years and it happened to 4 students.
Oh shit. How did you is that what made you transition? Like you're like, I can't do this, I can't be a part of this institution, the system that
Yeah, exactly.
this behavior. Wow.
Um, so sorry, I'm laughing. It is highly unfunny.
Yeah.
Um, but two things happened. A conjunction of things happened, I should say. The pandemic made it that I was no longer teaching in person, so that was kind of even worse to try to humanize mathematics over the computer when they gave us literally 12 hours to be like, okay, so all the classes are canceled, now teach online. And so I'm forgetting my points here.
We were talking about the transition between like choosing no longer to participate as a mathematician at the university that you worked at. So you said the first one was that the transition with COVID made it very hard not being in person.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, because I'm not listening to myself.
Okay.
Uh, and then, right. And then because of this sequence of students committing suicide in that building, they decided to add physical barriers to stop students from doing that and get the TAs, sorry, extra training so that we would be in charge of checking in on the mental wellness of the students.
Mm, that's a lot.
And yeah, I'm like, firstly, you're not paying me nearly enough to be leading this group therapy session when there's like 75 students in my class and I have 3 classes.
Mm,
Secondly, this 10-hour or whatever online lesson about mental wellness and suicide prevention is not the doctoral degree in psychiatry that I would need to deal with the issue that I am forced to impose these deadlines on these young people that's literally making them want to die
uh,
when I've been there for the past 10 years. So I'm no help to anyone. And that's why I just called it quit.
I that is so fucking brave. That is so fucking brave and necessary. I mean, from what I'm hearing from your story, I mean, I feel like a lot of folks would just kind of endure it, you know, because that's what we've been conditioned to do. But I think the choice you made, not that it's up for me to have an opinion. I try not to, but I think you're very brave in speaking that out loud.
Thank you. I think that I did endure it a few too many years. Like I knew it was a problem and I still kept thinking, maybe, maybe if I just stick with it, then I can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like day to day, I was being a negative influence in the world. And so thinking 10 years on down the line, maybe I'll do something better wasn't sustainable. So
How have you taken the steps, if you have or haven't, but how have you taken the steps to heal from those years? That there's a healing that needs to happen, right? It's knowing that this system produced these behaviors. Like what has been your emotional psychological landscape since then, since breaking away from the institution?
to me, that's where drag came in,
Mm.
because in the last year of me being at university, that's when I started doing drag after going to uh, just one show where I realized I could just feel happiness. Like I'd forgotten that was a feeling. Um, and I should clarify, that wasn't like my first time going to a drag show, but that was my first time going to a drag show and realizing how important it can be to be entertaining. Um, and and I do a lot of those. I call them selfish numbers because they're just really sad, and they're like me talking about my issues in a kind of covert way, where if I'm not doing them for an art festival and giving an artist statement, no one would know that it's about my own trauma. Uh, but everyone would be like, why are you sad? This isn't, drag is supposed to be funny. And I'm like,
No, it's not. It could be anything.
yeah,
That could
uh,
be-
I'll just keep doing my sad numbers and you'll keep tipping me anyways because I can.
Uh-oh,
Sorry.
oh, there it goes. What's your drag name?
Oh, my drag name is Rye.
Rye. Okay. Rye. I love
Give me
that.
okay. So hopefully my phone is charging now. Um, yes, my drag name is Rye, and it's completely meaningless. I know a lot of people have puns and whatever as their name. I just wanted something wholesome.
Mm.
And I like that grain. It was a little bit funny to me, and that's how it ended up being my name. I had a tab open on my computer when I was making my drag Instagram account, and I was like, oh, right, it's
What
fun. I like to read about it. Anyways,
what's Rye's or your aesthetic? Like what does Rye like to put on? How do you like to put on your makeup? Yeah. Like what's the intention behind everything that Rye does or you do?
that is a great question. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, I like to mess with gender, and I don't shave to do drag because as a transmasculine person, there's a lot of dysphoria associated to being called she, even when I'm in drag. And so I like to kind of be bad at it and be like, I was expected to act feminine for so many years of my life. And now I'm doing femininity on my own terms and it has a beard.
I love it. I love it. Um, if you feel comfortable, what's your gender expression and how do you sexually identify?
So my gender identity is gender queer, and the way I express that is uh, by just wearing clothes that I find comfortable. And my sexual identity is somewhere around that noise. if I if I really have to put a name to it, I'll just say queer. I'm only interested in dating other trans people, if that explains it better. Um, it's I'm not a chaser, I swear. I'm just done with the cis. They're not coming near my life in that way, at least.
Okay.
Uh,
Like, no. Okay. I I really love that you're from Canada because I don't get to talk to too many folks. Well, I have talked to a few folks internationally, but I try to talk to as many people, throughout the diaspora. So where do you find home? It doesn't have to be Canada, but I was like, oh, this is cool. But where's home for you?
It's it's such a tough question. I'm not living in the city where I was raised. And the last time I went back there, it was definitely not home. And that was a shock. So I tried to find home within myself.
Mhm.
As my That might sound kooky and
No,
philosophical,
that is
but
perfect.
it's where it is.
Hmm. What are you searching for?
Purpose, peace on earth.
In your response, you talked a lot about animal cruelty. Where does that come from within how you see yourself and how you interact with animals?
Uh, so one second. I Yeah. So I try to not ever see myself as being more important than someone else, or or the life of anything else. So to me, saying that I care about the well-being of animals is like an extension. It's like the logical limit of saying that I'm not any more important than the life of anything else in this universe. And so that's my way of trying to protect the good things in life. And uh, yeah. So
That's so beautiful. I think that's so beautiful.
it's like they're so cute and innocent, and I can't possibly think that I'm better than, I don't know, even a skunk. Skunks are cute, you know.
You have animals?
I do have a pet dog, and she's napping right now because dogs nap for 22 hours a day. Uh,
They do?
but well, I'm exaggerating a little
I
bit.
was like, because I have my sorry.
Sorry.
No, my roommate has a dog, and I swear all that dog does is sleep. So I was like, wait, hold up. Is this a new fact that I didn't know about? It's
No, dogs just sleep all of the time.
oh,
I don't know if they really sleep. That's the thing. I feel like sometimes they're just faking it because it's, what else are they gonna do? But
yeah. No, yeah, I my relationship with animals is I don't feel see like the whole idea of owning an animal, I don't feel equipped to do that. Like I don't like the idea of having to own an animal. Like that to me is weird. Like I feel animals belong in the wild, unless they're domesticated and we need to take care of them. But I feel like the having the responsibility of watching over an animal, that's a lot for me, like as a human being. But I feel like people have animals and don't take care of them, and that bothers me. So I'm one of those people who's like, I'm not responsible to even take on that task. So I just don't. I'm like, the most I'll probably ever do in a lifetime is get a cat, and that's because cats mind their business. They're in their own world, and they let you in when they're ready. But yeah, I love what you're saying. I love what you said. It's just so it's considerate. It's very considerate. I think it's a stance that a lot of people should take.
yeah, it's a hard sense to sell these days, to defend, I think. because of how normalized it is to just use animals for things, for labor or for food or for entertainment. Um, and I also try to understand that people are used to it or aren't seeing what they're doing as being harmful. And I'm trying to not be in people's face. It's really hard. Like when people are saying, like, I'm getting a dog, and I'm like, oh, great, where are you adopting from? And they're like, a breather. And I'm just, oh, well, you're not, why? Why would you pay someone to make more dogs when there's so many dogs already that are looking for homes? And they're like, because I want a puppy. And I'm like, I hope this puppy eats your most prized possession.
Dang.
I'm like, I don't say that out loud. But
No,
then
you think it.
a friend of mine who did just that a few months ago had a book they really cared about eaten by their puppy. And I was like, I shouldn't have thought that. I totally jinxed this person. This is terrible. That's rude of me. But also, you got a puppy.
I'm not sure if I asked you this question. Did I ask you what are you searching for?
Yeah, you did.
I think I did. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
Where do you see yourself? Like this one's particular. Like, is there any TV show or a song or a book where you go, hey, you know what, that's me. I relate to that.
So yes, I I think when I reached out to you first about this podcast, I didn't have an answer. My answer would be like, I don't see myself anywhere, and I just have to make my own representation. It's so hard. And in the meantime, there's this TV show that's in production currently in this city. The working title is Sort of, and it's by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and it's created by two queer people called Bilal Bragg and Fab Filippo. Fab Filippo was on Queer as Folk, which you might have heard of in the US, and Bilal Bragg is a queer theater artist. And they're making this show where it's set in a fictionalization of my absolute favorite space in the city, which is a queer bookshop that is also a coffee shop and a bar. And the one of the main characters, I mean, I did audition for it. It's kind of how I know about it.
Okay.
But one of the main characters is played by an actor that kind of looks like me, and everyone is trans, and it's so beautiful, and it's a comedy, and I'm just really excited about when this TV show is going to come out, probably next summer. And yeah, so now I do see myself on places, right? I do see people having lives like mine and hanging out in the kind of places I like. Just getting on mainstream national television, a story about people like me is like, it's massive.
Would you say that there's a shift happening in the representation that is being like culturally produced right now? I mean, in Canada or just anywhere. Do you think something's happening in the air?
Yeah, I think something's happening. I think people are bored of the status quo of entertainment, and the negative view is that some of the queer media that's getting produced is still being consumed with this gawking cishet view of, oh, look at those weirdos doing these things. Some of it is being produced that way, which is even worse. But also, a lot of entertainment, a lot of art has always been queer. And it's only been with the recent changes of legislations around the world that the queerness has been able to get from subtext to text. So I think that's why we're seeing the change.
I agree. I think I feel like there's an undercurrent uh of change. It's just you can feel it. You know, you walk out, not even walk out into the world, but you just like hear, read. You can't walk in the world, right? But you hear things, you read things, you think things, and you know we create stuff ourselves. And something, I feel like something's happening. Whatever. That's just my take. A small renaissance or whatnot. Um, is there anyone that like who's the first person that you saw and said like, "Hey, me, like I'm there," and it could be anyone. It could, you know, it could be an anime character. Um, yeah.
So when I was a teenager, I really liked the TV show So You Think You Can Dance.
Okay. All right.
And then one day they often have for people who aren't familiar with that show, uh, it's it's a dance competition, but they would have guest singers coming and singing a song. And one day they had Mika performing, of course, his Bigot Love Today from that must have been, I don't know, 2005. Uh, and it was such a moment for me. Like I can remember that entire performance as if I'd watched it more than once, which I haven't. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I could go watch it again. But it is imprinted in my memory with such clarity that I dare not perturb this memory.
Yeah.
Of just this guy like breaking everything that people did, and still doing it in a pop song that if you don't quite listen, you're just like, oh, it's a pop song and someone just jumping around. But it's also such a sad story of someone getting, of someone just pleading for recognition and for love and for happiness, and doing it while saying, I'm going to be myself and you're going to not just accept it, but celebrate it with me because I am happy with who I am. That was before he was out. So.
Right. Before he was out.
Yeah. Well, like, oh, this is the story. This is me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And I'm gonna have to go back and watch. I'm gonna watch that performance now on YouTube. On YouTube. Do you when do you feel safe?
I want to say that I feel safe when I'm alone, which is a bit sad, uh, a bit pandemic induced. So if we ignore the last 12 months, there's this situation that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And you're out at a party or at a show, and I don't smoke, but I like to still just go outside and breathe in some air that is colder.
Yeah.
and then just being alone and listening to the people that I love having a fun time without me. That's in a not sad way. In a like, I'll be back in there in 5 minutes and have fun. But it's just this kind of like meditative moment of still sort of being in the party because in a way, like no one really knows that I stepped out, right?
Mhm.
So to everyone, I'm still in that room and I get to like kind of hear it and feel it from a just a step away.
Yeah,
And that's yeah, like those moments are my most safe feelings.
I love that. It's such a specific moment that we've all experienced, but we wouldn't consider as like valuable or as precious as it really is. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, it makes me miss being in community too. You know, makes me miss being in community. Mm. I'm gonna pivot into this next question. Tell me about the first time you realized you were Black.
So I was in grade 3 and I was having a birthday party and I realized none of my friends were white.
Not one friend.
Not one friend.
Well, that's kind of beautiful, right? That's kind of cool. Like, just everybody hanging out, no white folk in the space. But in grade 3, I don't know how you felt.
Uh well, it's it was great. After the initial, where's the other half of the class that I did invite to my party? That's not showing up.
Oh shit! So you just didn't invite any white people, any white kids to your party?
Oh no, I did invite
Oh,
white kids to my
okay.
party, just none of them showed up.
Wow. Okay, I see.
I was like, what are we like? This is a much smaller party than I had planned for. So we just went to the basement and got dressed up, and I don't remember what we did after that. Played some silly games, like 8-year-olds do, and yeah, there's I feel like that was one of the first moments where I was just like, there's something that all the people who didn't show up have in common, and that is being white. And I am not like that. And
How many people did show up? I'm curious about that.
I think we were 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you feel? Like, what did that? How did you feel in that moment, and how did that make you feel moving forward as you were interacting with like those white kids?
Well, okay. Like first, I was sad, but then when we went back to class on Monday or whatever, it's just like, oh, you missed a great party. We had so much fun.
Mhm.
Whatever. Like I'm gonna act tough because I have to, and it worked out.
Okay. When's the first time you realized you were queer?
When I had to hide a relationship because I was in Catholic school.
Oh wow. Okay.
uh, um, so back when I was a girl, no, that's not really true. Back when I was pretending to be a girl, uh, I how old was I? I was like 14, I guess, and I started dating one of my schoolmates over summer break, and then we went back to school, and I'm sure it was written black on white in the school rule book, right? Uh, Anyways, it was It's an entire story that I'm not going to get into, but yeah, like, sorry, I'm getting new one. I'll take this from the topic.
Okay, it's you can take your time. I'm so patient.
I'm
What
just like blushing.
so so what I heard was the first time you realized you were queer is when you had to hide a relationship while in Catholic school.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Right. So there's a chance that it was written in the rule book that we weren't allowed to date students, or however they phrased it, because it was an all-girls school.
Like dating
But,
each other?
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that it was just us knowing that the other students would have a field day bullying us, because we're already two of the kids that were bullied. And so honestly, none of that was positive, and I wish that isn't how I realized that I was queer. And but there's nothing I can do to change the experience I had, so I'm just living with it.
Okay. Okay. If you could go back to your 12-year-old self, what would you tell them?
I would tell my 12-year-old self that I'll survive.
Okay. What do you want to hear from your 60-year-old self?
That I've survived.
I love that.
Thank you.
How do you experience love?
By sharing knowledge, by sharing ideas, by being honest and compassionate and abundant with time and opportunities.
Mm.
I had a burlesque teacher that said that seduction was grabbing people's attention, and I think that love is giving people attention.
Ooh. Mm. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
If you could change your identity, would you? And I've extended this question to, you could be a hummingbird, you could be a sequoia tree, you could be a dragon, anything.
It's tempting. I would enjoy being a tree. I wouldn't change though.
Okay. Are you okay? Yeah.
I've worked too hard to be who I am.
And you're like, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it.
Hmm. This is my last question. Is there anything else that you want to express in this moment that I may have not touched upon?
Ooh, yes, there's a question I want to add into this and answer, which is a to me the intersection of being Black and being queer. Like I was talking about the first time I realized that weren't particularly good experiences, but thus I want to talk about a good experience I had realizing that I was Black and queer, and not just that, but that there were other people like me that were at that intersection and were happy about being at that intersection. And that's been last year finding the ballroom community in my city, and having suddenly this large group of people being happy about just how Black and just how queer they were, and being so loud about it. And It was wonderful. It's been wonderful. And I just really like that. I just really like ballroom. I can hardly Vogue, and it doesn't matter because everyone's just happy to have anyone else there.
Have you ever walked in in a category?
Yeah, I walked Sex Siren and I've walked Realness.
Okay. Love it. I love it. Sex siren and realness. Yes. That's yeah, from where I'm from, Los Angeles, we have a good, well, I haven't participated in the ball. I mean, I haven't participated in a ball in like maybe 2 or 3 years, but I just remember going and just be like, I'm going to show out. I'm going to have fun. We're gonna celebrate and scream and compete, but also love.
Yeah, it's so good.
I do miss that. Mm.
There's
Any
virtual balls, they're not the same.
Oh yeah. There's only the ball is an energy. It can only be lived in the moment. I would say yeah. Of course, keep trying. Like, please hold virtual spaces, but yeah, it's not the same. I can't imagine it being the same. Hmm. Are there any performances you have coming up that we could look forward to?
Ooh, there are. I still have 2 shows this year, and then I have a couple lined up in January. I did not prepare the details, so you should just go check my performer Instagram. That's at blue.wild.rye. And I post all of my promo there all of the time.
I'll make sure when I add it to the website and everything that I put the information there. So if folks want to click on it, they can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to tell me, that you want to tell the audience that's listening?
I want to tell you, you've been wonderful to talk with. This was a blast. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I just wish everyone to be happy with who they are and where they're at. And if they can't do that right now, that's okay. It's not it's not homework. It's genuinely what I hope that everyone can have in their life is peace with themselves.
Mm, thank you. Thank you for that. All righty. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Mimi.
You have a good one. I'll make sure to hold on. Let me stop it right here.